Hello friends, today's special lecture symbolic expression is on life skills in youth, and as a sign language expert we have Ms. Sonia with us, and in the course of our discussion we will talk about various kinds of life skills and how they are very important in the framework of the youth, because we see that the life skills which we learn in our youth, they play an important role not only in terms of our development as an individual but also as a member of society. So in that sense we will try to in a way understand that what are those life skills and how they are important in terms of leading to some kind of a development of not only that individual but as a society as a whole as well, and how they also in a way help that particular individual to face the challenges which life offers. So in that sense we find that how life skills they play an important role, and how youth they can learn these life skills because they are not innate in that sense. And over a period of time we realize that not only IQ is important, but EQ is also important. It is also being talked about that how emotional stability, physical and mental stability, all of them they play an important role in terms of development of the youth. So in that sense we find that various kinds of abilities which in a way help a person to navigate the challenges of the life and the kind of demands and how these kinds of pressures, especially we find that in today's world where we are exposed to so much mass media, whether it is even the social media, and how youth they are addicted to various screens, whether the television or we find OTT platforms, mobiles, etc., laptop. So all of them they are in a way putting a lot of pressure on the youth, and we find that many times their self-esteem and how they have to in a way manage their life or the life kind of changes which are there in their lives. So that has to be seen in a particular kind of a perspective. And we also see that some of the issues like bullying and prejudice they are also rampant not only in schools but at workplaces as well. So how youth in a way has to come out of these kinds of issues which are there, and how they are able to take some kind of a stand that where they are speaking, either they are at school, in their community, society, at all places where they are feeling all these kinds of prejudices. So as a responsible member of society they are able to speak for themselves, because if one is not able to speak for oneself, then it is very difficult that the person will be able to speak for others. So in this way we find that how life skills they are being taught through some kind of an education or the life experiences. Through the direct life experiences one is able to in a way understand these kinds of skills. And we find that some of the most important organizations of the world, like the World Health Organization, they have also tried to in a way define these life skills, and how we find that when we are able to acquire these life skills, our life becomes comparatively more easier. So in a way they have tried to identify in the framework of the psychosocial competencies and interpersonal skills that in a way help people make informed decisions, because all these kinds of psychosocial skills which we need, and the interpersonal skills also when we are trying to in a way negotiate or talk to others, then we are able to make some kind of decisions which are very important. And on day-to-day basis also we find that we are encountering so many problems, so how to solve those problems is also an important aspect. And when we are talking about these problems, then we also have to think critically in that sense, because unless we are able to think critically and creatively, we will not be able to in a way overcome those kinds of challenges which are being offered to us. Then we have to communicate effectively, because the communication aspect is also again very important. If there is some kind of an error in communication, then we find that we are not understood in the real sense. And we have to also in a way build healthy relationships, in that sense that our relationships, they should not be toxic, they should not do some kind of harm to us. They are healthy in a manner that we are able to relish them in some way, and also to empathize with others. Empathy is an important aspect where we find that if we have this kind of a quality, then we are able to live our life in a more comfortable manner, and others also they feel comfortable with us. And how we in a way cope with and manage lives in a healthy and productive manner. So all these kinds of aspects, they are being talked about by WHO as well in the framework of the life skills, and we find that these life skills, they may be directed towards the personal actions or the actions towards others, as well as towards actions to change surrounding the environment to make it more conducive to health. So in that sense, all these kinds of aspects which are in a way associated with the life skills, they are in a way connected to the person as well as to the others in a manner of interpersonal skills, and how they both of them, they are related to the surrounding environment, because the basic objective of the life skills is not only to navigate one's life with others, but also in a way to create some kind of a conducive environment for the overall health of not only oneself but others as well. So when you talk about that, how WHO in a way defined it, and how the kind of a curriculum is also there with regard to the life skill, we find that emotional, social, intellectual tools which are needed to achieve success in life are being referred as life skills, because we find that emotionally many times we find that there is a lot of turbulence in our lives, and because of which we see that we have to have that kind of EQ, that we are able to in a way manage our lives in the framework of society or our social needs or our social skills. It is also very, very important, because all of us are social beings, and if we are not able to communicate in interpersonal relationships in a better manner, then it becomes very difficult to achieve any kind of success in life. And we also see that from the personal point of view and interpersonal relationships, we find that people, those who are able to in a way navigate in a far better manner, they become popular as well among their peers and among the society or community in which they live. So that is an important aspect, and we see that if we try to in a way understand the life skills, one of the examples which I generally talk about is in a framework of one of the sports persons, one of the greatest sports persons in Indian history, Kapil Dev. And there was a film which was called 83, which was made recently, and how India became victorious in the 1983 Cricket World Cup, and how Kapil's captaincy was in a way recognized, and Shrikant's recognizing the quality of Kapil in the motivational talk which he delivers in the film as well, and that how Kapil was so encouraging, he was so motivational towards all of them, and how he himself became some kind of an example where he played that inning of 175, and because of which India came out of that dire situation where they would not have gone further in their World Cup campaign. So we find that even not only in our lives but in every arena, in our workplaces, cricket being one of the workplaces of sports persons, and there are so many sports nowadays where we find that Indian athletes and sports persons, they are making their mark, and we find that how there is a lot of pressure on them. Recently we saw that how Gukesh, he became the world champion in chess, and how he was helped by Paddy Upton, who was also the mental conditioning coach of the Indian cricket team in 2011 when India became the world champions in cricket. So how the help of other professionals, they also play an important role in terms of life skills, where we have to compete in a very high pressure kind of games. And apart from games as well, we find that in every profession, whether it is cinema or for that matter corporate jobs or the government jobs, people, they have a lot of pressure in terms of performance, and especially in the sectors where we find that marketing is there, and people have to in a way fulfill the kind of targets which they have. So, in that sense, life skills, they play an important role in terms of managing the stress, that how the people, those who are in those kinds of sectors, they are able to, in a way, able to cope with the kind of stress which is there. And when we talk about that, how they are able to, in a way, build the healthy relationships, and they are able to, in a way, behave in a personal responsibility also, that how people are ready to take responsibility for their own actions, they are not denying them. They have this kind of an approach where even if they are making mistakes, they accept their own mistakes, and they learn from their mistakes, and these mistakes, they become their experiences in life, so that they are not able to, in a way, do those mistakes in future. And when one is talking about these kinds of aspects, organizational skills, in a way, to organize oneself is also very, very important, that how people, when they tend to organize themselves, then they are able to perform better. And the ability to negotiate is another important concern in today's world, where you have to meet so many people in life, and when one is working at the workplace, you have to negotiate not only with people, but many a time with situations as well. So, how you negotiate with those kinds of situations that you are successful is also an important aspect of the life skill. And when one is talking about the idea of thinking, then critical thinking again is very, very important, that when one is thinking in a critical manner, then one is able to, in a way, criticize the kind of aspects which can be neglected at some points of time. And when we have this kind of an idea that we have to think critically, creatively, then we will be able to make some kind of good decisions, because that is also going to impact our decisions as well. And problem solving again is an important aspect, where we find that on day to day basis we are in a way encountering so many problems. So, in that sense, we find that when an individual is able to understand himself, when an individual is able to understand with the kind of people he is working, then he will have empathy. And when one has that kind of an empathy with others, then it becomes easier to regulate things. And another important aspect is that how we are able to build some kind of self awareness, because if one has awareness about oneself, then accordingly the person will behave. So, this kind of self awareness also helps the individual to take some kind of right kind of decisions, and one is also able to communicate in a right manner as well. We find that how, when you are talking about life skills, we also can teach life skills to the individual, and how today's youth, many times we find that they are not able to manage their time, they are not focused, they are focusing too much on the reels which are being there on various platforms and social media platforms. So, we find that how youth, they have to stick to some kind of a plan, so that they are focused. And we also see that how any kind of skills, they can be acquired, whether it is related to cooking, or for that matter, or other kinds of things which can be taught to youth. And we find that it also provides them some kind of independence and a sense of responsibility as well. And when youth, they are being taught such kind of skills, they not only can use them for their own self, but we find that they are also able to help the society in the larger framework as well. And we have always seen that the virtues like kindness and gratitude, they are relished, or rather they are accepted worldwide. And when people, they engaged in such kind of tasks of kindness and gratitude, they are recognized by others as well. So, when we are kind towards others, or when we are showing our gratitude towards others, we find that we have these qualities of empathy, and this quality is a very rare kind of a quality, that people, they are in a way empathize with others. And in that particular framework, we find that how youth, in a way, can learn the breathing exercises to calm down and create a safe space to identify and discuss their emotions. So, in that framework, the emotional self-regulation is also very important, which youth can learn. And in yoga, we talk about there are so many asanas, there are so many breathing exercises, Sudarshan Kriya and others, which can be taught to youth, and how youth can learn from them, because we find that a lot of anxiety issues or nervousness is found in the youth of today, how they are devoting their time to other activities, they are not in a way focused in their studies as much, and so many mental health issues can be found in today's youth, and it is increasing as well. So, it is very very important that how youth, they need to be given this kind of a direction, that how they learn these kinds of exercises in terms of breathing, in terms of yoga and other kinds of activities in which they can indulge, so that the issues of mental health, they do not appear in their lives. And we find that when youth are being trained or they are being taught such kind of life skills, then they are able to set clear and attainable goals for their lives, and they are also curious, and we also find that how their strengths, they can be brought out, and they can work on their strengths as well. When one is talking about the relevance of youth in that framework, how youth, they can be taught the life skills, we find that how when an individual is being taught such kind of skills, and some people, those who take these kinds of initiative, they can be good role models for the youth as well. And when youth is able to in a way follow them or listen to their advice in an objective manner, then they are able to make good kind of judgments. And in all this, we find that in today's world, communication is an important aspect, and when people are able to communicate in a right manner, then they are able to achieve success as well. And nowadays we also talk about the education system, and a very popular film called Three Idiots, which was made in 2008. It talks about the various life skills, that how one has to follow one's heart in following a profession, and how to run, one does not have to run after excellence, one has to run after excellence, and success will follow. This is what the film talks about. If we are able to improve on ourselves, if we are able to in a way give time to ourselves, and we are not in a way hungry for success only, rather we want to improve ourselves, and we reach at a kind of a stage where we achieve excellence. This is what the film talks about. And one of the important aspect which film tries to convey is the interpersonal bonds of friends, that how interpersonal relationships, they are also very important in our lives. And in those interpersonal relationships, our families are also very important, when we find that the protagonist of the film gives advice to Madhavan, one of the actors, regarding his parents, that why he should not think about committing suicide, he should think about his parents. So he also plays an important role in the skill development of children in a remote area in that particular film. So we find that some of the films also, they play an important role in that sense. And when you talk about that, when you are talking about the curriculum for the youth, and how they are based on the evidence based psychological methodology as well, and various cognitive behavioral therapies, mindfulness and resilience building activities, they are also there. So we find that how these skills, they help youth in a better manner to understand themselves, get along with others, and gain tools to cope with life's inevitable difficulties. So as I told you earlier as well, that how self awareness is an important aspect, where we are not only knowing and living with oneself, and this theme covers topics that foster students' relationships and understanding of themselves, including their thoughts, feelings and behavior. And when you are communicating with others, and how you live with them, how you develop your interpersonal skills, and how the lessons in this theme, they how explore how to establish a healthy, respectful relationship with others, and how non-violent communication should be there when one is in a way communicating with others, and how disputes, they are to be resolved as well. And when one is talking about thinking, then we find that how the kind of skills which are required, and how there's concrete ways of thinking and executing tasks, so that youth will make effective decisions, and how they will be able to set the relevant goals and be informed consumers of information. One of the important things which one has to also keep in mind is the EQ, or emotional intelligence, or emotional quotient, and it is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and those of people around you. People with a high degree of emotional intelligence know what they are feeling, what the emotions mean, and how these emotions can affect other people. So, EQ is not only knowing about one's own emotions, rather one has to also think about the emotions of others, the people, those who are interacting with them, and how their emotions basically are going to affect other people. So, this is an important aspect of EQ, and over a period of time we find that this aspect is becoming more and more important, because in today's world we find that if emotionally people are more stable, then only they are able to achieve the success. And I think some of the film stars, they have recently talked about ideas of depression, that how they also underwent depression, and today's youth is also talking about these kinds of aspects, that anyone can have any kind of mental illness. So, to deal with these mental illness, medication is not the only thing, rather achieving the life skills is an important aspect when we are dealing with these kinds of aspects. So, in the course of our discussion, we will talk about the life skills further, and how youth is in a way can adapt to these kinds of life skills. Thank you very much.